I let go of something today. Some emotional baggage. Some pain that I didn't even really know was still bothering me. Until I really thought deeply about what had happened. And I realized that I had suppressed a lot of negative feelings for a while. Guilt, shame, sadness. Because of when I was 18 years old, got my girlfriend pregnant. We were both in high school. It was a confusing time to be alive. Didn't feel like it was even real. Poor girl at the time, she had to go to high school with a pregnant belly. Tried to hide it forever. Until she just couldn't anymore. Her dad was very upset. He didn't want me around her, he said. I was so scared I didn't want to be around. I just wanted to go hide. And I kind of did. I acted like that whole thing didn't even happen. We gave up the little boy for adoption. He ended up going to a wonderful family. Probably is living a wonderful life. But I can't help but feel like maybe he has a lot of questions. I'm not adopted, so I don't know what it feels like, but I could imagine part of you is wondering why your mom and dad didn't raise you. I'd be wondering that. How come they didn't love me enough to raise me? What did I do wrong? He was just a little baby. So I remembered how much I suppressed from that whole story. And I believe that's why I dove into that deep depression after separating from my boy's mother. I felt that feeling of failure again. I wasn't able to be there for my firstborn son. And then I felt like I wasn't going to be able to be there all the time for my current sons. Because since the separation, I was only going to be able to see them every couple weeks on the weekend. I could feel all those old feelings compound. That was a tough time to be alive. But sitting here today, I feel different. So here I am, several days later. And honestly, I feel lighter. Not because the story changed, not because I went back in time and fixed anything, the story is still the story. What happened at 18 years old still happened. But what changed was my relationship with it. For years, I told myself I had dealt with it. I thought I had moved on. I thought I had accepted it. But the truth is, I had mostly buried it. I had buried the guilt. I'd buried the shame. I'd buried the sadness. And when you bury emotions, they don't disappear. They wait. Sometimes they show up as anxiety. Sometimes they show up as depression. Sometimes they show up as self-sabotage, drinking. Sometimes they show up as a voice in my head telling me that I'm not enough. When I sat down and really allowed myself to feel these emotions, something unexpected happened. I realized that 18-year-old Scott wasn't a bad person. He wasn't heartless. He wasn't a failure, like I told myself so many times. He was definitely very scared, confused, so overwhelmed. He was a kid trying to navigate an adult situation. And for the first time, instead of judging that younger version of myself, I felt compassion for him. I built a guided meditation for myself in my own voice. I used binaural beats to help quiet my mind and make it easier to access emotions that I had been carrying for so long, so many years. I let myself relive those memories. I let the emotions come up instead of pushing them back down. There were a lot of tears. Like I cried hard. That's how you know it's working. There was grief. There was sadness. But there was also understanding. And with understanding came forgiveness. I forgive that younger version of me. I forgive myself for not knowing what to do at the time. I forgive myself for being so afraid. I forgive myself for carrying this weight for so long. And maybe the biggest realization of all was this. The pain wasn't coming from what happened. The pain was coming from resisting what happened. The moment I stopped fighting the past and started accepting it, something inside me softened. Today I still think about that little boy, although he's a grown man now, probably 25 or older. I still hope he's living an incredible life. I still hope he knows that his story began with two young people who were scared, terrified. Not two people who didn't care. And if somehow he ever hears this, I want him to know that he was loved. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not in the way we all would have preferred, but he was loved. As for me, I'm moving forward. Not because I've forgotten, far from that, but because I've finally allowed myself to feel. And sometimes healing isn't about becoming someone new. Sometimes healing is simply giving yourself permission to stop carrying what was never meant to be carried forever. Maybe that's what healing really is. Not pretending. Not pretending the past didn't happen. Not rewriting the story. Not convincing yourself that it didn't hurt. Healing is having the courage to sit with the pain. Feel what you've spent years avoiding. And realize that you no longer need to carry it. That young man from all those years ago was doing the best he could with the awareness he had at the time. Today, I can finally look back at him with compassion instead of judgment. And as I sit here now, I don't feel broken. I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel like a failure anymore. I feel free. Because sometimes the heaviest chains we carry are the ones nobody can see. And sometimes all it takes to break them is the willingness to finally face them with an open heart. So today, I choose forgiveness. I choose acceptance. I choose peace. And for the first time in a very long time, I feel like I've come home to myself. If you or someone you know needs help forgiving themselves, I have another video in the description to check out. Tell me in the comments what you're holding on to. Remember, like, share, and most importantly, subscribe for more of the journey, stories, and tools to navigate life. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. No time like the presents.